watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Continuing his father's tour for factory workers in his second week as Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet reminded the crowd of his father's legacy, which he credited with Cambodia's present development. He announced that his administration has two goals: to maintain the achievements of the previous administration and to expand upon them. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Speaking at a meeting with about 20,000 workers in Phnom Penh's Pu Sen Che district this morning, the Prime Minister said that the greatest achievements made by Cambodia over the last 40 years are peace, independence, territorial integrity and development. He vowed that his administration would continue his father's legacy.
អ្វីដែលលោកបានចាប់ផ្ដើមឡើងហើយនេះរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលអាណត្តិថ្មីដែលមានឋានៈដឹកនាំថ្មីជាច្រើននឹងរួមគ្នាបន្តថែរក្សានៅសមិទ្ធផលដែលឋានៈដឹកនាំរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលដឹកនាំក្នុង40ឆ្នាំនេះបានបន្សល់ទុកនិងខិតខំដើម្បីពង្រីកបន្ថែមទៀត
He continued a dialogue firmly established by his father around the need to peace in Cambodia.
សន្តិភាពវាសំខាន់40ឆ្នាំមុនសន្តិភាពសំខាន់20ឆ្នាំមុនសន្តិភាពក៏នៅតែសំខាន់ថ្ងៃនេះសន្តិភាពក៏នឹងនៅសំខាន់100ឆ្នាំបន្តទៅទៀតសម្រាប់កម្ពុជាដែរ
In somewhat of departure from his father, he said he would not be arguing with his opponents, but rather focusing on the Cambodian people. He instructed his critics to take up their issues with his newly appointed spokesperson, Ms. Sapon, who was formerly spokesperson for the Ministry of Information. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. In a meeting with 18,000 workers in Pu Sen Che district this morning, Prime Minister Hun Manet said that the increase in minimum wage for workers is a policy that the royal government continues to discuss and implement. The Prime Minister said that the government is making efforts to attract investors and negotiate salary increases for the benefit of the people. He recalled that in 1997, Cambodia had 64 factories with only 30,000 workers. He said that these days, Cambodia has around 17,000 factories, including over 1,000 garment factories, which employ 1.5 million workers.
នេះមានបៀវត្សគោល$200អត់គិតអត្ថប្រយោជន៍ផ្សេងៗហើយឥឡូវឆ្នាំនេះយើងកំពុងតែចរចាការដំឡើងបៀវត្សអបបរមាទៀត
The Prime Minister attempted to placate the workers by comparing their salary to those in neighboring countries. He said that Vietnam has a slightly lower minimum wage of $198, Bangladesh has a salary of $75, and Sri Lankan workers make as little as $39 per month. In addition to receiving a base salary, workers also receive some maternity benefits, as well as additional funding from the royal government. Workers also receive discounts on water, electricity, and transportation, especially on New Year's Day and Pachum Bin, where they are provided free buses to return home. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. A man was arrested by the Sinsok District Police yesterday after a woman filed a complaint that he had hit her during a traffic dispute. The incident was caught on video, sparking outrage on social media. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the story.
On August 25th, a woman and her brother accidentally splashed a man driving over a puddle on the street. The two motos then pulled over and a verbal altercation ensued. Despite receiving an apology, the man began yelling and alternatively hit the woman in the face, prompting her brother to swim back with his helmet. The woman managed to break up the altercation between the two men and later filed a complaint with the police. Meanwhile, video of the incident was spreading on Facebook, where people were highly critical of the man for losing his temper and slapping the woman. Colonel Ho Meng Wang confirmed to EAC News that the Sinsok District Police arrested the man on August 28th and were preparing a case to take him to court. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. 7 nations have accepted Cambodia's newly appointed ambassadors to their countries, including the 3 largest powers in the European Union. The new Cambodian administration is taking this as a sign that the West is ready to work with them under Prime Minister Hun Manet's leadership. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
Lloyd David, who is starting the Cambodia's ambassador to France in September, held a news conference at the National Assembly upon hearing the news. He said this is his first job as a diplomat in France, will be to establish relations with the President and the key ministers of the French Republic. He also aims to build relations with the Cambodian community in France to educate them on the current state of Cambodia. He said that the opposition politicians confuse Cambodians who live abroad, likely referring to Sam Ramsey, who lives in self-exile in France.
ខ្មែរខ្លះគាត់មកស្រុកខ្មែរគាត់ឃើញនឹងយើងគាត់ឃើញចាក់ស្ដែងនៅភ្នែកហើយក៏តែមានប្រជាប្រដ្ឋមួយចំនួនគាត់ដែរមកហើយគាត់ស្ដាប់តែគេស្ដាប់តែពីការញុះញង់របស់អ្នកនយោបាយមួយចំនួនដែលមាននិន្នាការប្រឆាំងយើងនេះគាត់យល់ច្រឡំអញ្ចឹងការងាររបស់ទូតនេះគឺធ្វើម៉េចឲ្យគាត់យល់ឲ្យគាត់ដឹងពីប្រទេសជាតិយើងយ៉ាងម៉េចបាទហើយធ្វើម៉េចបើសិនគាត់អាចមកឃើញប្រទេសយើងដែលផ្ទាល់ភ្នែកគឺជាការមួយដ៏ល្អដែរបាទ
The 7 countries that have accepted the new Cambodian ambassadors are France, Britain, Germany, Turkey, Indonesia, Laos and Serbia. Ray David said that the acceptance of Cambodia's new ambassadors is a clear sign to the West it intends to work with the new administration. Last month, the EU released a statement questioning the democratic value of the election that placed the new members in power.
បាទគេទទួលស្គាល់យើងខ្ញុំជាឯករាជ្យទូតប្រចាំនៅប្រទេសទាំងនោះបញ្ជាក់ច្បាស់ហើយគឺថាគេចង់មិនចង់គេនឹងធ្វើការជាមួយនឹងរដ្ឋាភិបាលថ្មីរបស់យើង
The 7 new ambassadors met with received guidance from the National Assembly President, Kung Sandari, who instructed new ambassadors to work hard and take responsibility for the prestige of Cambodia in their host country. She said it is necessary to promote diplomatic economy to attract tourists and expand the Cambodian export market. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Interior issued a press release to calm public discord about the possibility of the government requiring a license for those driving motorcycles over 60cc. He said that at present it is just an idea that is being studied and considered, with no firm timeline. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Today's statement said that the new Minister of Interior, Saw Sokha, was reviewing a study on driving motorcycles over 60cc and that his comments about it in the ceremony that previous day had been misinterpreted as an announcement that the action was being taken. The statement clarified that at present, the Minister is simply reviewing the relevant facts regarding traffic safety. The results of the study will serve as a basis for decision with the Ministry of Public Works and Transport, which has authority to make decisions and implement driving licence laws. The Ministry of Interior said that things like vehicle type will be considered in addition to engine power in order to implement measures in accordance with the social reality of Cambodia. It is said the Saw Sokha recommendation was a plan for the future and that it was out of concern for the well-being of the people who have suffered property damage, physical injuries and the loss of thousands of lives per year due to traffic accidents alone. It is stressed that there is no set timeline for the new regulations. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Cambodian People's Party President Hun Sen met with outgoing EU Ambassador to Cambodia, Maria del Carmen Moreno, this morning before she moved on to her next role in Sri Lanka and the Maldives. At their meeting, former Premier Hun Sen praised the EU's cooperation in helping Cambodia through the COVID-19 pandemic by providing more than 930,000 doses of the vaccine, in addition to nearly $500 million in loans to help eradicate the virus. He also acknowledged their help in building the new water treatment center in Bak Keng, which relieved Phnom Penh and surrounding areas of water shortages. Ambassador Moreno said that although her 4 years working in Cambodia were difficult, she was satisfied with the royal government's cooperation. Former Prime Minister Hun Sen proposed a symbiotic relationship between Europe's 27 member states and ASEAN's 10, with Timor-Leste expected to become number 11. He said that with ASEAN's population of over 600 million, a complementary social and economic relationship is more beneficial than geopolitical competition. Moreno noted that things like national reconciliation, demining, and human rights are more developed in Cambodia than in Sri Lanka. Her experience here will likely prepare her for their struggles. She added that she looks forward to the opportunity to meet with Hun Sen in Sri Lanka, which is more prosperous than Cambodia, but is facing a severe economic crisis and potential economic collapse. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Representatives of the EU and the UN met with Cambodian diplomats this week to promote dialogues on human rights and economic cooperation. Today, Chairman of the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, Keo Remy, met with the UN's human rights representative to Cambodia, Ruwaida El Haj, to discuss preparations for the 75th Annual Human Rights Day celebration to be held on December 8th. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Representing UN's Human Rights Commissioner, Ruwaida El Haj commended Cambodia on being the first country to begin its plans for the 75th anniversary celebrations, which show the country's willingness to promote and respect human rights. According to Keo Remy, Cambodia has already conducted workshops on the civil rights and democracy in preparation for the event, in addition to holding a convention on racial discrimination in Benteng Menchay. He thanked the OHCHR representative for continuous cooperation in the field of human rights in the past and assured her the two organisations will continue to work together to strengthen the human rights situation in Cambodia. The Cambodian Human Rights Committee will collaborate with the OHCHR to conduct workshops and disseminate a report on economic, social and cultural rights, as well as the consultations on the upcoming Universal Periodic Review. Cambodian Human Rights Committee will collaborate with the OHCHR to conduct a workshop to disseminate a report on economic, social and cultural rights, as well as consultations on the upcoming Universal Periodic Review report. The 75th Annual Human Rights Day will be organised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and the Cambodian Human Rights Committee and the OHCHR. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
Watching EAC News, thank you for joining us. King Norodom Sihamoni departed for China today, with Queen Mother Moniniet Sihanouk for a medical checkup this morning. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
A special flight left from the Phnom Penh airport this morning and was seen off by former and the current Prime Minister and many senior officials, including the National Assembly President Heng Samrin and former Ministers Saw Keng, Men Sam On and Thien Ban. President of the Royalist Party Phin Supik was also in attendance, alongside the newly appointed National Assembly President Kun Sundari. The King generally makes 2 trips to China per year for health checkups. According to the Cambodian Constitution, the President of the Senate is the acting head of the state when the King is abroad. The current President of the Senate, Say Chum, who saw the King off at the airport in February, former Prime Minister Hun Sen is expected to take over as the Senate President, making him the de facto head of the state when the King leaves his country, while his son Hun Manet leads as Prime Minister. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The Ministry of Water Resources and Meteorology says Cambodia can expect to see the effects of a weakening typhoon until Sunday, causing an increase in rainfall and heavy winds. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
According to the ministry, Cambodia will be affected by a prolonged low-pressure system that is expected to reach over northern Thailand, Laos and Vietnam. It is also noted that the remnants of the super typhoon Saloa will be transferring to the country as it makes its way from the northern Philippines, making landfall in the southeast China on Saturday. The combined weather phenomena are expected to produce moderate to heavy rainfall in the central lowlands and the coastal areas, along with the thunderstorms and heavy winds. The highlands can expect light to moderate thunderstorms as well. The ministry especially warned coastal regions of the rough seas and powerful winds ahead. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
EAC News, thank you for joining us. The Apsara Authority has warned tourists against interacting with an increasing number of monkeys who live at the Angkor Wat Temple complex. The monkeys often display aggressive behavior, and incidents are increasing as they move from the forests to the tourist-dense areas where they are more likely to find food. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
A 39-year-old Thai tourist was bitten recently and the Apsara tourism team provided first aid, including injection. Apsara tourism agent Chan Samnang cautioned guests against feeding the monkeys at the park, which makes the animals more customized to humans and less likely to rely on their own instincts. He noted that the monkeys have been known to bite people and snatch their items, and that some monkeys who were kept as pets are legally dumped at the park. In February, the Apsara Authority requested the public to stop feeding the monkeys in pursuit of the photo opportunity so that they can live naturally and not rely on human feeding. The monkeys in the park are known to disturb visitors in their ruthless pursuit of human food, sometimes resulting in bites. A press release from 3 animal protection NGOs in the same month requested an end to the persecution and exploitation of the abuse. A press release from 3 animal protection NGOs the same month requested an end to the persecution, exploration and abuse of monkeys at the Angkor Wat, a popular UNESCO World Heritage Site and also a monkey sanctuary. The number of semi-domesticated monkeys living in Angkor area have increased significantly with the increase in tourists. Many of them are completely reliant on human food, posing serious risks to animals and humans alike. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Cambodian martial arts are experiencing a meteoric rise on an international level, with Bokatoa being inscribed on the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List in 2022, and both Krav Khmer and Bokatoa making their official debut at the SEA Games in May, where athletes from 6 countries competed for over 100 medals. This November, Cambodia will host the first ever World Krav Khmer event at the historic Angkor Archaeological Park in Siem Reap. Not to be confused with Bokatoa, which is more performance-based, Krav Khmer, or Pradal Sare, is a style of kickboxing that descended from early forms of Khmer fighting techniques. A match consists of 5 3-minute rounds with a 1.5 or 2-minute break between each round. Boxers wear leather gloves and nylon shorts. Later this year, Letwai boxing champ Dave Leduc is expected to have his final match in Cambodia while fighting in the Krav Khmer style, out of respect for the host country. Siem Reap is expected to host hundreds of athletes from nearly 100 countries between November 26th and 28th for the World Krav Khmer Tournament. The tournament will consist of 3 categories, including voluntary, mid-professional, and professional. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Manet met with outgoing European Union Ambassador Maria del Carmen Moreno as she ended her diplomatic mission that spanned the last 4 years. The 2 diplomats discussed future cooperation between Cambodia and the EU in areas like health, education, human resource development, and public services. At the Peace Palace today, Prime Minister Hun Manet touted the sustainability of his administration's policies, particularly in the implementation of the 5-point Pentagon strategy meant to elevate Cambodia to a high-income country by 2050. He said that the government will particularly focus on building human capital, health sector reform at the grassroots level, and public sector reform. The Prime Minister also requested that the EU continue to consider, support, and finance Phase 2 of the multi-year indicator program from 2021 through 2027 to facilitate Cambodia's trade and exports to the EU market. Currently, the EU is the 4th largest buyer of Cambodian exports, even after it took away some duty-free trade benefits in 2020 due to human rights concerns. Ambassador Moreno thanked Cambodia for working closely with the EU and congratulated Prime Minister Hun Manet on his new position. She also praised Cambodia's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the country's launch of an effective social assistance program, and its chairmanship of the 2022 ASEAN Summit. She also expressed the European Union's will to cooperate more closely with Cambodia, especially with the new administration under the direct leadership of Prime Minister Hun Manet. She let him know that she will spread the good news of Cambodia while on her next mission to Sri Lanka. In September, Moreno will be replaced by Belgian Igor Dreisman, the current EU ambassador to ASEAN. Kristen Winters, EAC News.
តើលោកអ្នកចិត្តរៀបអាពាហ៍ពិពាហ៍មែនទេហើយពិបាករកក្រុមហ៊ុនថតវីដេអូផ្សាយផ្ទាល់ដែលមានគុណភាពមែនទេអស់កង្វល់រ៉ាទីកាជាក្រុមហ៊ុនទទួលស្គាល់លំដាប់អន្តរជាតិលើសេវាកម្មថតផ្សាយផ្ទាល់គ្រប់កម្មវិធីកម្រិត 4K ដំបូងបង្អស់នៅកម្ពុជារ៉ាទីកាប្រើប្រាស់ឧបករណ៍ទំនើបម៉ាកល្បីធានាគុណភាពការផលិតតាមបច្ចេកវិទ្យាទាន់សម័យរ៉ាទីកានឹងជួយធ្វើឲ្យកម្មវិធីលោកអ្នកកាន់តែមានភាពអស្ចារ្យលោកអ្នកនឹងបានឃើញរាល់សកម្មភាពក្នុងពិធីទៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ទំហំធំកម្រិត 4K និងការបញ្ចាំងលើផ្ទាំងក្រណាត់សព្រមទាំង LED ដែលមានរូបភាពច្បាស់ត្រជាក់ភ្នែកសូមអញ្ជើញកក់ពីឥឡូវនេះតាមរយៈលេខទូរស័ព្ទ012 823 848 017 838 889និង016 823 848រ៉ាទីកាទំនុកចិត្តការទទួលខុសត្រូវនិងគុណភាពខ្ពស់